does that go the way of the Texas A&M, 2022 recruiting class? That's going to be really interesting to watch.
It is, and even with this Texas A&M class, I plan on taking a deep dive in the off season to see where this has actually landed. A year later with the Texas A&M 22 class.
Boy, the Jimbo Fisher and then backing up the Brinks truck down there is looking real good for those folks down in Aggie land right now, huh?
Well, I am going to say, David, I
Yeah.
started clicking on these players, and in the first five, the top five in that class are still there.
Of the A&M class?
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, they had like, what did they sign? Like 9 5-stars or something like that? 8 or 9 5-stars in that class?
Yes.
I would think that they lost a couple of those.
Well, I'm trying to see who they are, though.
Because it was like the most, I think, 5-stars signed in a recruiting class I had thought at the time. Or one of the most. It had to be up there.
Okay.
You remember Nick Saban's thoughts on that recruiting class too, right, Mark?
Yes.
Talk about Nick saying the quiet part out loud.
Well, he also has to be a little bit careful about what could possibly be going down at his place, just to a lesser degree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? I'm not going to. I mean, first of all, he's had a lot of success. So, I mean, to be fair, success helps with recruiting. For Jimbo to do that, that did seem like a little bit of a, not saying that Jimbo's not a good recruiter and he's got a great recruiting base, but still.
Because he's been nearly as successful as that in the past. But I guess my point being that either the money is exaggerated, the reports of the money that we're hearing is exaggerated, or more schools are involved with NIL, and not just legitimate NIL, illegitimate NIL offerings than we think, or else wouldn't we just have, to an earlier point I made, the recruiting rankings look similar to what they would look like any other year.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you would think that, I mean, the obvious two things we used to always talk about is success of the program and sending players to the NFL.
Yeah.
Which are obviously, tied at the hip to a great extent. And, obviously, I think players are still going to be, that's still going to be a huge, huge factor. I think what the NIL and the inducement comes down to also, Mark, is if it's a tie on both angles and they can offer NIL money on top of it as an inducement, that could become the tiebreaker.
I guess to bring it down to the granular, if I'm a top player and I can go anywhere, and I would have normally gone to Alabama, let's say, because of NFL development and just flat out winning.
Sure.
But I can now go to, and I'm not picking on any particular school, it's just grabbing a name, that I could then go to Miami, and they're offering me $200,000 more than Alabama is, or $200,000 period, and zero at Alabama.
Right.
Why would I not just go to Miami? Like, I would think that kind of money inducement would override almost anything else.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you. I mean,
I guess that's what my bottom line point is. We're pointing our fingers at Texas A&M, Miami, but doesn't everybody have to be in the mix to some extent, or wouldn't their recruiting classes just be completely ridiculous?
Yeah, well, the tough part about this is I still think we're kind of in the early stages of this, Mark.
Sure.
And I still think we probably need, another year or two to really see the because that's the question I'm wondering is how does that Miami class stick, or does that, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do they get the inducement? Yeah.
Well, if the NIL money is coming through for these athletes and there's no obligation that they have, then yeah, they stick around for a year and then they go look for the next deal or just a better football program.
Right. And then how's the program feeling about the things? Right.